Hey, I have no idea what's going on with these networks. These network providers, Airtel, MTN, you guys, you need to do the right thing. You need to begin to provide a good service to the Zambian public. Guys, do me a favor. If you're watching this broadcast, just go ahead and tell me in the comments below that we are loud and clear. I need to confirm that, though, on my monitor. And I just need to... There we go. How's that? Are we good? Are we good? Somebody tell me we're good. If you could very quickly share this live and sort of inform people that you think would be interested in this conversation, please just slingshot this broadcast to people that would be curious about what we're going to talk about today. This is always one of the most uncomfortable spots of the live broadcast, is when you're waiting for people to jump on, and then you have to sound engaging. You have to sound like you know what you're talking about. And that's not always possible because, I mean, it's live television, and I'll never forget when Mark Zuckerberg first introduced this feature of going live on Facebook. Because remember, when Facebook first came out, you could only post like a worded status. You know, you could only write something. And then later they introduced pictures and then video. And then this revolutionary idea of, excuse me, of going live on your broadcast. I'll never forget thinking to myself, why would anyone ever want to go live? I can't think of a single reason why myself or anybody would ever think of going live on Facebook. I mean, what are you going to talk about when you go live on Facebook? That is the preserve of CNN. That's the preserve of ABC, CBS, NBC, and the BBC. We're not broadcasting services. What the heck are we going live for? Well, here we are. Now that's the way to do it. Now it's going live is en vogue. It's the way to do it. Right. Guys, first of all, on a very personal note, I was awakened this morning by some, it's both sad news and news that doesn't really make you sad, because I knew the man, and I know the man, and I'm talking about Reverend Jimmy Swaggart, who is my mentor and whom I love so much. I spent 4 years in his company and at the school that he built there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm an alumni of JSBC. And I just heard early this morning that he had a heart attack, and the paramedics swung into action. He had a heart attack at his residence in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the paramedics responded quite quickly, and they sort of resuscitated him. And the last I heard, which was about 4 a.m. this morning, he was in ICU. So as far as I know, he's still in ICU. Of course, that could change any moment. Jimmy Swaggart is 90 years old, and he has been preaching the gospel for many, many years, more than 60 years. If I'm not mistaken. And him coming to this part of his life is bittersweet, because bitter in the sense that we want him around, sweet in the sense that he served with such dedication. And as someone that knew him personally, I personally knew him. In fact, I fashion my delivery, the way I speak, the way I deliver my messages, is patterned after him. And I love him so much, both him and his wife, his family. And so, you know, today, whatever happens, he ran a good race. Jimmy Swaggart fought a good fight. And he's left behind an amazing legacy of advancing the message of the cross. And so to all of my JSBC family, I say to you, we love you. We love you. We love you. We embrace you. And that'll never change. Love you, Jimmy. All right, let's get into it. Guys, as you know, sounded like Christopher Walken there for a moment. As you know, first of all, tell me, is this broadcast loud and clear? Tell me that. If you type that on there, I would be grateful. It is freezing outside. Have you guys been outside? Have you been outside? Well, I'll tell you, in Zambia we say London weather. This is London weather, bwana. Someone says you speak about him as if he's already passed away. Well, we're near the end, and we don't know when that's going to be. But you know, whichever way, it's a win-win for the kingdom of God. It really is. It's a win-win. You know, I'm glad to hear that, guys. Let's talk about the issue that's on the table. I always get amused when people get flustered. They get very upset when people like myself make commentary when we drive a conversation that affects us as Zambians. Although, against the backdrop of who we are as a people, let's not lose sight of the fact that the rest of the world is grappling with real tangible issues. You know, I live in a country that the most dramatic thing that happens is two people arguing on Facebook. That's the extent of our drama in Zambia. Not forgetting that there are countries all over the world that are facing real challenges. There's Iran and Israel right now. There are people in Israel and Iran that are dodging ballistic missiles or missiles. There are people in Israel now that are sitting in a home eating dinner, and then all of a sudden the roof caves in and collapses on their heads and the entire family dies. There are people in Iran right now that are on their way to school and their children's bodies are being blown apart because of a ballistic missile. And then there's us in Zambia, where we have become such a nation embroiled in gossip, innuendo, and all manner of inconsequential stuff. We love to make a mountain out of a molehill. We love to create drama where drama doesn't exist. If you look at the world through the lens of geopolitics, global geopolitics, then you'll understand that Zambia really has got a lot to do, has a lot to learn. We're embroiled now in a burial, a funeral that everybody talks about, and it simply will not go away. And it has taken up the entire nation's attention, and rightly so. Rightly so. The only thing, though, is that too much of anything is not a good thing. Too much of anything is not good. And I think that's where we are. As many of you know, over the last couple of weeks, for those of you that are tuning in now, our sixth and former president, Edgar Lungu, passed away on the 5th of June, 2025 in South Africa. And there was this talk that he was barred and he wasn't allowed to go? Well, yesterday, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Patrick Kangwa, clarified that and said that Professor Njovu, Edgar Lungu's physician, had written to the Cabinet informing the Cabinet, Secretary to the Cabinet, Patrick Kangwa, informing him that they were to travel, EcL was to travel to South Africa. In response to that, Patrick Kangwa said, if there's any assistance, any type of support that you need, we're here. Professor Njovu, EcL's physician, said, no, we don't need any support. I'm only telling you this to inform you, not that we need any type of support from you. Patrick Kangwa made it abundantly clear that nobody was ever instructed to inhibit, to prohibit, to put any type of roadblocks in EcL's path. No officer was dismissed because they let EcL through. And that's a rumor that swirled around social media. There was this idea that somebody stopped EcL from traveling. Well, Patrick Kangwa made that very clear. He made it abundantly clear that that didn't happen. It is on record. Professor Njovu. Are we on? Goodness. You know, these networks, off on. You networks, by Airtel, by MTN, can you please get your act together? If you to the panchito, let's take the step. Come on, guys. Are we back? Act together. If you to the panchito. Okay, we're on. So that's very important to understand. That's very important to make clear. And once the former president went to South Africa, as we know, a short time later, Kawana announced that sixth and former president was going through chemotherapy, which the PF were furious about. They were angry that Kawana came out with that revelation. Shanzi Rotembo, in a fit of rage, sued Kawana for 5 billion kwacha, saying, how dare you insinuate that former and sixth President Lungu is unwell. He's fine. He's just going for a routine checkup. Rafael Haijaka Nagachinda went further and stated that Lungu is simply taking a break from all the negativity. You know, he's fine. He's in South Africa. He's just taking a break from all the toxicity on Facebook. The PF did everything within their power to dance around the issue. They said everything except tell the truth. And that is something that we as a people need to change. When it comes to our leaders, we need to be forthright. We need to be honest about what our leaders are going through. Don't shield, don't hide, don't conceal what a former or a sitting head of state is going through. It creates angst. It creates uncomfortability. You know, I know in Zambia people think that no, when you shield it, you're protecting them from anarchy. No, when you shield it, when you shield the ailment or the physicality of a sitting head of state or a former head of state, when you shield their sickness, you are creating a conducive atmosphere for gossip, misinformation, and innuendo. That's what you're doing. And so, when he finally passed away, the very same person that sued Kawana for 5 billion kwacha for having said or having stated that the former head of state was going through chemotherapy. Sean Zero Tembo was the very first one that went on social media, and he began to wail like a stuck pig. He displayed the most uncouth, the most insincere, the most pathetic performance of grief that I have ever seen in all of my life. And he did it just for the cameras. He screamed and wailed like a stuck pig. There was nothing about that grief that was authentic. There was nothing about Sean Tembo's crying that was sincere. It was all steeped in showmanship. It was all steeped in fake sympathy, crocodile tears, if I've ever seen crocodile. In fact, he didn't even shed a tear. All he was doing was screaming. There were no tears streaming down his cheeks. All he was doing was just screaming like a stuck pig. It was pathetic. And then all this stuff started coming out. Now, it's important for you to understand that the moment that EcL decided to re-enter active politics, his benefits fell away. But the PF saw it fit to spin this lie that it was Hakainde Hichilema that set in motion a series of events that led to EcL's death. I want to say that again because it's important. The PF, in their foolish, misguided thinking, sort of hinted to the public that Hakainde Hichilema set in motion a series of events that led to EcL's demise and death. Namely, the PF said, no, had you not stopped, had you not blocked EcL from going to South Africa, today he would have been alive. Given Lubinda even went as far as saying, had he, Given Lubinda and Raphael Nakachinda, said, had you allowed EcL 2 years ago, 2 years prior, to go to South Africa, he would not have died. That's not true. EcL's been going to South Africa since 2015. EcL's been consistently going for medical issues to South Africa since that time. Patrick Kangwa made it abundantly clear. At no time was EcL ever stopped. It was a lie that was hatched by the imps of the PF. To do what? To discredit this administration and to disdain HH. That is all this whole thing is about. The hate and the anger and the resentment that the PF feel, they feel it because they hate the fact that Hakainde Hichilema defeated them in the 2021 elections via the ballot box through the will of the Zambian people. That's all it is. They cannot stomach, they can't stand the fact that HH won. So all of this anger comes from that. All of this resentment comes from that. All of this pushback comes from that one fact. Now, when HH heard that his brother had departed, the very first thing he did was he sent a ZAF plane to Johannesburg to help the family repatriate the body, bring it back to Zambia from South Africa. The family, through Makebi Zulu, immediately rejected that notion. The ZAF plane has been sitting there since around the 5th, 6th, 7th of June. It's just been sitting there waiting. Makebi and the family have rejected that gesture, rejected it. Yesterday, Makebi Zulu announced He said, no, we're not going to use the ZAF plane. We're going to repatriate the body using a private plane through well wishes. Now, let's stop there for a moment. Because, you know, in Zambia, don't just accept everything. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. Is the network very bad? Huh? Just accept everything. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. All right. Tell me if the network is, I know the network is a bit messed up, but you know, we're going to try and do our best to stay on topic. I'm working. I'm at the office right now. This is my office. This whole thing is becoming irritating. It is. It sure is. The network is okay in Kafue. Okay. All right. So Makebi Zulu said they're not going to use a ZAF plan. Actually, what he said was the family have decided to use a private plane through well wishes. There's nothing wrong to ask who are the well wishes. And before you ask that question, remember, Makebi Zulu sort of indicated that, you know, the family was cash strapped and they go through financial problems, which is a lie. Makebi Zulu knows that he's lying through his teeth and the truth is not in him. The Lungu family is very liquid, extremely liquid. They've got money running out of their ears. So don't for one moment buy into this lie that Makebi Zulu is trying to peddle. Kuti, the family is cash strapped. They're not cash strapped. They've got lots of money. So that's number one. Number two, you must understand that repatriating a corpse, a dead body, is extremely expensive. It's a tedious process and it's expensive. The billable hours attached to moving a body by plane, by private plane, astronomical. It can cost you anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 per hour in flight time. Okay? So if you're flying from South Africa and your flight takes 3 hours or 4 hours or however long it is, that's $5,000 times 4 hours or 3 hours. That may be chump change to you, but it's not chump change to everybody else. Okay? So my point in saying that is, what is easier? What is easier? And I'm going to ask this question and I want you to answer me. What is easier? To allow ZAF, a plane from your country of origin, the plane's coming from Zambia, where you're from. It's not coming from Australia. It's not coming from the Maldives. It's not coming from Bogota, Colombia. It's not coming from Memphis, Tennessee. It's coming from Zambia, where you are from and where your father served as president. It's a ZAF plane. What's better? Using a ZAF plane, essentially, it's free. I mean, the Lungu family are not going to pay ZAF to move the body. It's free. And all the paperwork that is attached to repatriating that body lies solely on the shoulders of government. Solely. So basically, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about a thing. Your loved one's remains will be moved expeditiously, seamlessly, with no roadblocks in the way whatsoever. All you got to do is just watch the government do its thing. What's better? Is it better to use ZAF, which is free, or to use a private plane, which is very tedious and costly. And if you do use a private plane, why? Why are you using a private plane? For what? The answer is embedded in two responses. Number one, you are so full of pride. Makebi Zulu and the Lungu family, they are so full of pride that they can't stomach the thought that HH would be so benevolent and accepting this gesture from the head of state, which he's able to do that. I mean, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Commander-in-chief of the armed forces means the president constitutionally can instruct a ZAF plane to go pick up the former and late head of state. Is that clear? Okay, because I know in Zambia said, yeah, but what gives HH the right? Well, he can do that constitutionally because he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He can command, send a plane to South Africa, bring him back here. He can do that. So what's easier? And what's cheaper? Okay, let's not use the word cheaper. What's more cost effective? The answer to a normal, regular person is, I think it's easier we just let the state do its thing, hand the body over to ZAF, and they'll do their thing. That's what logically, to me, that makes sense. It's more tedious to go the private route, the private jet route. Now, if you go private, it begs the question, who are these private well-wishers? Who are they? Well, the answer is very simple. Tell me in the comments. Who do you think is the private well-wisher in this case? Tell me. Tell me who you think is the private well-wisher. I'll let you tell me before I tell you. I'll give you a moment. It's very simple, and it's not a secret. I mean, it's a secret because the Makebi Zulu hasn't disclosed it, but the well-wisher, allegedly, are you ready? Valden Findlay. Boom! Yeah. Valden Findlay allegedly is the well-wisher. Valden Findlay has a private plane in South Africa. And he has offered, allegedly, his plane to repatriate the body. It stands to reason. That would make sense to me. I mean, Valden was very close to EcL. Valden has a private plane. So, if that is true, because that's the word on the street, allegedly, Valden Findlay is the one providing the support to repatriate EcL's body. He's the well-wisher. And he's fine to do that. I mean, EcL was his friend, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing, though, is that why not tell us who the well-wishers are? And why sugarcoat it? Why cover it? Why? That's my question. There you have it. That's the reason they've chosen to go that route, is because Valden Findlay, being the great guy that he is going to help his friend and transport the body. All right. Thought I'd share that with you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye. Yes, really.